This is Dr. Matt Barber of Alabama Orthopedic Clinic. We are proud supporters of Ransom Reprogram, Ransom Ministries, and all of the good work that they do in our community. If you would like to learn more about us, check us out at alortho.com or barbertotaljoint.com. You can also hear more from me personally on the Ortho Real podcast. Thank you again for allowing us to be involved with Ransom Ministries and all of the great work that they do.
Hey, welcome to the Ransom Experience. My name is Matt Armbruster, Executive Director of Ransom Ministries. You're going to hear stories from people that we've served and people that serve alongside us, as well as those that we partner with throughout our community. You're going to hear about decisions they made throughout their life and things that happened through different avenues of their life that caused them to go down a path that they didn't see themselves going. And then also those decisions that they have to make on a daily basis to stay away from those decisions that they made in the past. Ransom Ministries empowers people to utilize their God-given gifts and talents in their career and for their community. All along the way, we learn how to help those close to us and also maybe even help ourselves. This is real. This is raw. This is Ransom.
With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
This show is brought to you by Ransom Recycling, your number one choice for electronic recycling in Mobile, Alabama. Help reduce waste in our landfills by recycling all of your unwanted, unused, and non-working electronics. Ransom Recycling is a division of Ransom Ministries that is helping to put men and women back to work. Check out ransomministries.com for a complete list of acceptable items. Drop-offs and pickups can be easily scheduled through the website. Please note that we are not accepting TVs at this time. Ransom Recycling, open 8 to 3 Monday through Friday. Help our planet while helping men and women re-enter the workforce.
With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
Hey, welcome to the Ransom Experience. Today's our 30th episode, and it's going to be a little bit different than the other ones. Today during our reprogram class, which, you know, for those who've never listened to us, the reprogram class is classroom time where they're learning how to deal with trauma, how to move on past that trauma into a life that's fulfilling, a career, what they're made to do. And they're coming out of addiction, they're coming out of homelessness, they're coming out of incarceration, or all the above. And so we sat in here, and on the third day of the classes, they share their stories. We do those stories so that they can understand that everybody has a story, but also so that they get used and comfortable knowing that that story is not who they are. What they did is what they did. It's not who they are. And I want them to understand that. And so when we share our stories with each other, it's just a great way to get it all out there. And also, you know, to practice when the interviewer asks you, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. So they sit up here and they tell stories. We do it every single month with all the people that come through here. And I'm sitting in the back of the room, and I'm just get this overwhelming feeling like, why can't we get more people to listen to this? Why can't we get more people to come over here and sit through these story days? You know, today it was just me and Mr. Bill. But man, if we could get more people, they would see that drug addiction and homelessness and incarceration has no boundaries. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's going to affect everyone. And these ladies' stories, at the end of them, every time I say, I got a new set of heroes, because the things that some of these ladies go through and these men go through, I don't think I could have made it. But they're here for a purpose. They're here for a reason. The word says that they will know him by our testimony. So I'm hoping through these stories that you will see Jesus through those. And I know they do. So as we go, I got about 4 stories right here that are going to come back to back. And I really want you to listen to their story and how they got to where they are right now. Because I think it's eye-opening. I think it'll change the way you look at people that are in addiction, people that are in poverty, have coming out of prison or homeless. So enjoy these ladies as they bring these stories to you. Really listen, and we hope that you'll enjoy it.
My name is Brittany Adams. I'm 31 years old, and I was born March 29, 1990, in Jackson, Mississippi. My parents, they was married for 36 years, but they divorced when I was 21. I have one older brother. My parents was very loving and always made sure my brother and I had what we needed. My childhood was good for the most part, except my dad being an alcoholic. And a mean one at that. But I was daddy's little girl. I remember him always being mean to my mom all the time. It was mostly more verbally, but also physically and also emotionally. He was also abusive to my brother verbally. I would say about 3 or 4 days out of the week, my mom would have to get me and my brother, and we would have to sneak out of the house to leave and get away from my dad. We would have cookouts and parties at my house, seems like every weekend. When I was about 15 or 16, that's when I picked up my first drink and smoking. Started only on the weekends, which led to weekdays, and then every day after school. I graduated high school in 2008, and 2 weeks after I started working on the pipeline. And those who know pipeline knows you drink a lot after work. My dad, my brother, and I worked together, and I was just as hard-headed as my dad, and two-hearted people that drink don't mix. And he tried fighting with me, and I was ready, but my brother stepped in. Ever since that day, the relationship with my dad was okay, but never really the same. I ended up coming home and going to college, and that's when I started smoking weed. After about 3 or 4 months in college, I missed the pipeline money and went back off to work. On December 13th, 2013, I met my ex-fiance. We met on the pipeline and was together for 3.5 years. He was also an alcoholic, and we always butted heads. But I stayed with him thinking things would change and thought I loved him. He started being verbally abusive and physically, and me being me, I went right back at him. My dad and brother also worked with us at this time, but I never really told them everything that was going on. One day, my dad and brother got another job for another company, and that night, my ex and I got in an argument, and he told me that I didn't have my dad there to save me this time. And the next morning, I finally realized that he wasn't the guy that God had for me. So I didn't say nothing and took him to work. Then I came back to our camper, packed all my stuff, left his ring on the bed, and I never looked back. I went home the 1st of April 2017, drinking and smoking from the time I got up till I passed out. About 2 weeks later, my pop passed away, and I lost it. I really isolated myself in and drank the pain away of everything. A few months later, I started back hanging out with my friend Melinda, and she was telling me about her son in prison that we should meet. He was in prison for 5 years for armed robbery, and when he got out and on probation, about 3 or 4 days later, we met, and we just clicked. He's now my husband. I was still drinking like crazy and smoking, and he wasn't a drinker, but he was on Suboxone. We ended up moving into a rent trailer. Everything was great. And on July 2018, I found out I was pregnant with Charlie Ann. On September 16th, Justin's birthday, he proposed to me, and 6 months later, we got married. My mom helped us find a house, and Justin and the construction company he worked for remodeled it. Then the basic stuff Justin did on his own. We had Charlie Ann March 18, 2019, the best day of our lives. I got addicted to pain pills then, after having her, plus picked the drinking back up. And that's when we started arguing a lot. Justin started smoking meth again, what put him in prison the first time. I wasn't happy. I wasn't too happy about that, but didn't really care at the same time. But we never finished our house on time, and we ended up losing it, plus our truck, plus our four-wheeler. And then that's when I started trying meth for the first time, and I was hooked. We found a rent house in a bad neighborhood, lived there for a year. Everything just went downhill from there, but we really didn't care. Arguing became a daily habit in front of our child. My mother kind of figured out what was going on and would ask, but of course I lied, knowing she already knew. Me and Justin got in a big argument one day, and the cops was called. We went to jail March 22nd and was there until he went to rehab on my birthday, the 29th, which was this year. And I came to the Home of Grace April the 6th, which I'm so thankful for, not only to work on myself, but to get my family back and live the way God intended us to.
My name is Nicole, and I was born March the 14th, 1985. My earliest memories are my mom and dad fighting due to his alcohol abuse, which caused me a lot of fear and anxiety. They divorced when I was 5. My mom was pregnant with my baby brother, and my dad denied him, which I never really understood because me and my brother looked just alike. My mom got on drugs after having my brother, so I was forced to grow up really quickly to care for my brother and later on my mother because she got really sick. When I was 12, I became really rebellious towards my mom and refused to go to school because I felt like I didn't fit in. During this time, I began smoking weed and taking Xanax. At the age of 16, I began taking Lortabs. I didn't really understand at that time just how addictive opiates and benzos truly were. I was 18 the first time I withdrawed off of opiates, and it was absolutely horrible and very painful. In 2003, the year I was supposed to graduate, I went back and got my GED because my grandfather had always been big on education and pushed me to go back to school. After getting my GED, I started college, but that didn't last long because I decided to get a job as a stripper. It was fast and easy money, and I could supply my habit. I ended up picking up a new habit, ecstasy. I would soon find out I was pregnant with my first child, and on August 19, 2006, I gave birth to a beautiful little girl named Alexandria. In 2007, I got a job working at my daughter's daycare, and I loved it because I've always loved children. I worked at the daycare off and on up until February of 2015. In 2008, I met my oldest son's dad. On November 28, 2009, I had my son DeAndre. In April of 2010, we got married, and it quickly fell apart, and we separated in August of 2010. He was an enabler, but used my addiction to pills against me, saying that was the reason he couldn't be with me. I tried for almost 3 years to get him to give me a divorce, and finally, in October of 2013, he did. In 2015, after losing my job at the daycare, I was introduced to meth and instantly fell in love with it. It made me very social and outgoing, which I had never been. I was always very quiet and felt very awkward around other people. In February of 2016, I found out I was pregnant. On September the 28th, 2016, I had my daughter Tylasia. On the morning of November the 13th, 2016, I woke up and found my daughter not breathing. She had passed from SIDS. And I blame myself because I used my whole pregnancy. On December the 23rd, I checked into the Wings of Life to get help. A week before I graduated, I was allowed to take a 24-hour pass but relapsed. After leaving the Wings of Life, I had to turn myself in on my chemical endangerment charge for my daughter testing positive when I gave birth. In May of 2017, I was sentenced to 3 years suspended for 3 years probation. I reported one time and didn't go back. In August of 2017, I found out I was pregnant and prayed for help because I knew I couldn't stop using. On September the 6th, 2017, I was arrested for violation of probation. I remained in jail for almost 7 months. They were taking me to the methadone clinic and they wouldn't let me withdraw off of it because it could cause me to lose my baby. Finally, 1 week before giving birth, I was furloughed out and court-ordered to the Home of Grace. On March the 23rd, 2018, I gave birth to my son, Zayden. He was in the hospital for 6 weeks withdrawing from methadone. Once he was released from the hospital, I had to go to medical detox for a week. And on May the 16th, 2018, I came to the Home of Grace for the first time. I graduated on August the 20th of 2018. By November, I had relapsed and was back on methadone and meth. Although I had relapsed, I was still reporting to my probation officer. In April of 2019, I found out I was pregnant. I used up until I was 6 months pregnant, and my probation officer drug tested me, and I failed. He didn't lock me up, but he did let me know if I failed another drug test that he would send me to prison. So I quit using. On November the 24th, 2019, I had my daughter Paisley. She was also in the hospital for 6 weeks coming off of methadone. On February the 19th, 2020, she also passed from SIDS. After losing Paisley, I became really depressed and really didn't care about anything but using. I was so numb and isolated from everyone, including my children. In June 2020, I found out I was pregnant again, By that point, I had gotten off probation, and I was so numb that I used, hoping I would have a miscarriage, and even considered an abortion because I didn't want to have another baby that I would have to lose to death. On January the 8th, 2021, I gave birth to my daughter Trinity, and it was only by God's grace that my daughter didn't have any withdrawals from the meth or methadone. But because of my history, I had to give temporary custody to my cousin, and my DHR worker told me I had to go to treatment. She told me that she had spoke with the Home of Grace and they had beds available. At first, I was very hesitant to come because deep inside, I knew it was what I needed. On March the 31st, 2021, I went to medical detox, and on April 6th, I came back to the Home of Grace, and it was the best decision that I've made.
I'm Jessica. So my parents, they met when they were young. My dad was 25 in the Air Force. My mom was a senior in high school. After 2 years, in 1988, I was born. They were married and I was born. We lived in a real small town right outside of Dothan, and for about 2 years, and then we moved to Sylacauga, where I grew up. That's where my dad's parents lived, where my dad grew up. I started dance really early. I danced for 16 years, actually. But my parents divorced when I was 5, and my dad got full custody of me. My mom really didn't put up any sort of effort to, first of all, get custody, or really even to see me a whole lot. She married a man that was very abusive, and it just wasn't a good situation. I never wanted to go over there, so eventually I just stopped. She had a son, my half-brother, Zach. So this whole time I was being raised by my dad and my grandmother. And I was really super into dance and baton lessons, piano, gymnastics, swimming, just stayed super, super busy. In middle school, I was on the dance team, obviously. And we went to New Orleans for a tournament or something, and I fell in love with New Orleans. It was the first time I had seen any, like, a different culture, you know, different food, different kinds of people, and it really sparked, like, my love for traveling, and New Orleans is still my favorite city. High school, it was pretty typical. I was a majorette in a band, still dancing, like, 4 days a week. I started smoking weed when I was about 15, and I didn't really drink a whole lot, surprisingly. But I did, like, take some pills and stuff. Nothing too crazy. When I graduated, I started dating a guy named Wilson, and he introduced me to cocaine. And we started following around bands, which was, a lot of my friends did it. It was a pretty normal thing for us to do. So for about, back up, me and Wilson broke up after a couple of years, and I started dating a man 13 years older than me. We were together for almost 10 years. So my whole early 20s, I would work about half the year and save up money, and then the other part of the year, we would go on tour. So I traveled the country, seeing bands, just basically hopping on tour. There was a lot of drugs involved. It was pretty much one big party that lasted about half the year. Lots of cocaine, lots of ecstasy, ketamine, nitrous oxide, just about anything you could think of. It was really fun, actually. I got to see a lot of different places. We went to, California, New York, Boston. Went to Mexico and the Dominican Republic. And a lot of those times, just being on the road, like, some of my friends would have to go back home, or they were going somewhere else, and I'd find somebody in our campground or in our hotel that was going where I was going next, and, just get in the car with them. So met a lot of new people, did a lot of stupid stuff. By the grace of God, I never got in any trouble with the law. Never really got put in any physical danger, but I did a lot of stupid stuff, getting in the car with strangers and driving halfway across the country. But it was fun. I was young and very naive. I trusted everybody. So my late 20s, I decided I needed to kind of settle down a little bit. So I managed an outdoor store for a few years, and then I started bartending on the side. When I was 2012, I guess, yeah, I got the opportunity to help open up and run a very high-end craft beer and craft cocktail bar in Montgomery. It was super nice. We, like $17, $18 cocktails. So I was there for about 5 years, helped running it. It was wonderful, but that's when I started drinking very heavily. I ended up losing that job after 5 years because of my drinking and drug use, but they didn't want to fire me. I didn't want to leave, but they had to. So after that, I became a sales rep for a craft brewery in Birmingham. Great job for an alcoholic. My territory was all of Alabama and all of Mississippi, so I was just constantly on the road selling beer. Then I met a guy named Ryan who lived in Orange Beach. So I quit that job and moved to Orange Beach and got a job with Budweiser. So another great job for an alcoholic, riding around selling beer all day. So I ended up getting fired from that job because I was drinking on the job. And started bartending in Orange Beach. Another great job for an alcoholic. I kept it together really good for a long time. I was a very functioning alcoholic. A lot of people didn't really notice, but when you noticed, you noticed. And that's when I would lose jobs. But let's see. So last year, me and Ryan, we were together for 4 years, and we had a really good life together. We lived on the beach. We had a boat, a little Boston whaler. We lived right on the water, and everything was wonderful. And then Hurricane Sally hit, and we lost everything. We lost our house. The only things we saved, we saved our cars and our boat and our dog. And everything else was gone, just out in the bay somewhere. Including, our house was standing, but it got deemed uninhabitable by the city. So that's when I kind of lost it. Just really, really went downhill, and my life became unmanageable for sure. And in April, I totaled my car. Went to the hospital for a while, and then I went to jail for a little while. I actually hold the current record in Baldwin County for the highest blood alcohol content for the longest period of time. The constable in Orange Beach told me she's never seen anything like it. And she's been there for 20 years. The doctor told me that I should have died. He had no idea why I was not dead, and I'm sitting there having a conversation with him like it's no big deal. So after all that, my best friend Julia, who's just an angel, she bailed me out of jail and took me back to the hospital to detox because I was in real bad shape. And I asked her, I was like, what am I going to do about a car? What am I going to do? And she's like, honey, you're going to rehab. I've already got it set up. It's like, okay, I guess. By that point, I knew I needed it. And so me and Ryan, we broke up right before I came here just to focus on getting better. And it's been rough, but I know I'm where I need to be. And for the first time since I was 18, I'm almost 60 days completely clean and sober, which is an awesome feeling. I never really thought that I would see that day. Sorry. Y'all know I'm very sensitive and emotional. But for the first time, I have a relationship with the Lord, and that's huge. Like, I can't wait to read my devotional every morning, I can't wait. I love talking with all of y'all about Jesus, and I never thought that would I would even say that. And I know it's only going to get better, and it's going to get easier. I know my story is a lot different than a lot of y'all's, but, you know, that's mine.
My name is Courtney Tubbs. I was born in Mobile, Alabama on April 15, 1985, and I have 7 siblings, so we have a huge family. My daddy, I have the most amazing parents I could ever ask for, but my daddy was an alcoholic for many years. And, but I know that my mom and dad were soulmates. Like, he was the best daddy I could ask for and the best mom. He did have, you know, family addiction runs in my family. And there are some childhood memories that, you know, I watched my mom break my dad's ribs, bust a alarm clock over his head, but they still loved each other, you know. But a lot of my childhood, there's only a few things that I would say that I went through that were a lot for me. And I was bullied for 7 years by this neighbor that I went with elementary school with, and every day I'd want to sit in the very front of the bus because I was so scared, because he'd come behind me and take my book bag and slam me down. He bullied me for years, and that was a lot for me to deal with. And during the summers of my childhood, I stayed with my Aunt Bug, my mom's sister, basically all summer. You know, I basically lived there every weekend. And I had to watch my cousin Brian being beaten every day. She didn't ever whip Brianna ever, barely put her hands on Bubba, but Brian, she just treated him like a dog. And that was a lot for me to watch. And then fast forward to, you know, my youth, I was actually good in school. I loved school. I partied a lot and skipped class, but I still did good in school. So as long as I did good in school, I guess I thought I was okay. I graduated. I was the second out of 7 siblings to graduate high school, to make my daddy proud of me, and then I moved on my own at 18, right when I got out. I always worked, but I still partied like crazy. But I still paid my bills, so I thought I was okay. Well, I wound up going into the Coast Guard and got stationed in, right when I got out of basic training, I married my first husband, Adam, and I thought, I guess since I was leaving, we had to get married, you know, because we'd still be together, which that was a mistake. But anyways, I got stationed in ISC Honolulu, Hawaii on the Coast Guard cutter, the Jarvis. And Adam was pretty much an alcoholic, and he was drinking a gallon of vodka probably every 4 or 5 days. So I felt really alone all the way out there, and I was in a culture shock, you know what I'm saying? But I got out the Coast Guard, and we came back to Mobile, Alabama, and I just woke up one day and wanted a son, so I got pregnant with Jace. Well, he was one of the managers at McDonald's, and he was still drinking every day. Oh, I was taking methadone. My sister introduced me that. So my drug of choice was methadone, and we never looked through each other's phone. I never got jealous, but one day I looked through his phone and I found out he was cheating. So I started cheating, you know, instead of doing what was right. I was like, well, I'm going to cheat too. And that's when I met Sky, Ryder's daddy, and I got pregnant within a month and a half with Ryder. So me and Adam got a divorce, and then me and Sky got together, but Adam gave us the house, and the whole time that I was living in the house, Sky wouldn't work. I had to take everything on my own. I had to work 2 jobs, so I just started with my drug use even worse. I started going to the methadone clinic. I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. So we started fighting real bad with the stress I had, and he started putting his hands on me. He's thrown a glass bowl at my face. He's choked me. He's hurt me a lot, and finally he got a job as a journalist, and he worked for Bitcoin. So we got us a nice trailer. He's making about $7,000 or $8,000 a month. And during the Trump stuff, you know, the fake news and all that, all these journalists lost his job. So he lost his job, and then Bitcoin crashed. So then I had to take everything on again. And I couldn't pay the bills by myself. So we lost everything, and literally we're outside And I had to call my mother-in-law. I didn't even call Adam because he never seen Jace, and said, you got to come pick Jace up. I have to put him first. I don't want him being worried, staying in hotel rooms because we're homeless. Everything's outside. And my ex-mother-in-law came and picked him up, and Ryder was staying with us in hotels. I started doing meth about 2 months before I became homeless, and once I started doing meth, it was OV. And so we're basically homeless, staying in hotels, and I'm getting unemployment, so we're selling meth and doing meth, smoking meth all day, every day. And basically, we were hanging around the wrong crowd, and I lost my daddy. And my daddy, he found out he had advanced metastatic prostate cancer. It's been a year since he's been gone, but he found out he had cancer literally within 3 months of him retiring. And he was real sick. And but he wound up beating cancer, believe it or not, with he seen an old friend and told him to take a dog deworming medication. And I know that's crazy, but that's how we got rid of his cancer, not through his radiation, nothing. They said it spread to his bones. But then I guess from his immune system being low, he contacted pneumonia, coronavirus or whatever. And one day he woke up and he couldn't breathe, and from having the pneumonia, and his heart tore in 3 places. And they did a triple bypass, and they couldn't get his blood to coagulate, so he was on a ventilator. And I had to say goodbye to my daddy on an iPad. So that was really hard. And so after that, Ryder got taken by DHR. I had to do a safety plan. And went to jail a couple times, but then I started living on the streets in Tillman's Corner, homeless. And there were days I slept on a mattress outside in 30-degree weather by a fire. I didn't care. I've slept outside of buildings on the pavement, and I wanted to die every day. You know, I was asking God to kill me every day. I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't have my kids. I just wanted to die. And I went to Metro, still went back straight on the street, Tillman's Corner, being miserable. And then I finally, one night, went to jail in Bala Battery. And I was there for a month, and it took me to break down in my cell. And I just couldn't do it anymore, you know what I mean? And I told my family I wanted to come to Home of Grace. I was supposed to get on the 13th, but they put a fake charge on me to keep me in there because I had to be here on the 20th. And thank God for that, because if it wasn't for that, I would still be on the streets. I already know that. God revealed that to me, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that I'm here. I found God, and God's restoring my family. DHR told me in 6 months, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'll have Ryder back. He's with my mom, but he's going to my sister's, I think like next week. And then I'm filing for custody for Jason when I get out. So God's restoring everything. Praise God for that. That's all I got to say.
I try to tell you, these ladies' stories are encouraging, yet also open your eyes to the things around you. I'm so thankful for these ladies, and that they were willing to be recorded for this, because I do believe it's going to change people's lives. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you enjoyed their openness and their transparency and the way that they brought these parts of their life to us through this podcast. I know each day I get to spend with these ladies and men who are otherwise I would have never been able to spend with. It changes my life forever, and it has changed my life forever. So I'm so thankful that today you were able to set in on one of those. Just remember, we always need people to volunteer. We always need teachers. We always need mentors to come in and just sit in the class and be here as support. And we do class every single day, Monday through Friday, from 10 a.m. till around noon with the ladies. And then the guys, theirs is from 8 a.m. till about 10 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But you can go to our website, ransomministries.com. You can send us an email, tell them you're interested in what we do. But I'm telling you, you will be changed. So if you don't want to get changed, don't come on. These people are encouraging. They'll become your heroes. They also just want to do right, and they need as much support as they can get. So I hope that you'll join us. I hope that you will subscribe to this podcast, listen to past podcasts so you can get to know some of our past students. Also, you can give to our organization at ransomministries.com. Click the donate button. We always need money to keep doing what we're doing. Or also just come out and visit us. I tell people all the time, don't give to something you don't believe in. And I want you to come out, and I guarantee you, again, you sit through these classes, you sit here with these men and women and see how hungry they are to get back into their community and give back, then you would love to come here. It costs us $31,000 a year for our state to keep people in prison for 1 year. It takes $5,000 to put them back to work through ransom reprogram and ransom recycling. For you business people, that's a pretty good ROI, return on investment. They also put way more money back into our community. According to the Robin Hood Foundation, for every person we put through our program and spends at least a year at their job, they're putting over $107,000 back into our community, whether that be through taxes or whether that be through sales tax or buying goods, paying rent, buying gas, all the different things they do when they have a job and have money coming in. And again, that's a pretty good ROI. So, man, for every dollar you give, it's putting $20 to $30 back into our community. So thank you for those that support us. I hope that you'll continue to do that. And Lord, and I just pray the Lord will bring more people on board to help us continue this work of transforming these ladies and men into who God intended them to be. Thank you again for listening. Can't wait to meet you. Come out anytime and tour our facility. God bless. Until next time, we'll see you next week.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight. With